Hello, this is Joe from Nerd in Korea. I'm going to do a bit of a different video here. The holidays are coming up, and MTG gifts are pretty hard to buy. And if you're not if you're not really into MTG, it's very confusing, right? So I put together a list of about 60 cards that you can buy just about any MTG fan, and it'll be like a deck builder's toolbox. They're gonna find things that they love in there, and it's under $20. You can get it on one website at least for under $20. I think it was just over 40 on another website. So for Magic stuff, that's pretty good. Anyway. Oh, please hit like and subscribe as well. It does help out the channel a whole lot. So, yeah, as I said, buying things for the MTG nerd in your life is tricky. It's not just people who don't play Magic, but for anyone who doesn't know their decks. So even if I was going to try and buy like a bunch of cards for someone, I can get a bunch of cards that I know are good. I don't know if I could buy like a bunch of cards that they want for their specific deck, because without looking at their deck and really going through it, you have no way of doing that. So anyway, these cards will be useful with most decks and can find a home in many decks. This covers everything, a deck needs, from lands to useful cards that you can give players to give them the edge they need. So again, this is kind of like a little bit of everything. I think they'll be able to like find a whole bunch of things really that will be very useful. And yeah, you don't need to spend a lot of money. The main thing is, a lot of people think Magic the Gathering is super expensive. It actually has a lot that is not super expensive that you can get on a budget that is just so good. Like, I put this list of 60 cards together. It's under $20. You probably have to pay more if you actually went to like a game shop or something, but still, it's cheaper than buying like a bundle or something like that. As I said, it's under $20, and this is, 60 cards for less than $20 that are amazing. Some of these cards are like, I know they're going to go up in value. It's just a matter of time. So yeah, even if you want to just sit on some of these cards, I bet you they'd be worth a few bucks in 2 or 3 years. If you are unable to get these from a shop near you or order online, you can always go with Plan B. So I do have a Plan B here. It's actually what I did, because my wife asked me, hey, what should I get you for Christmas? And I was like, oh, well, you could, maybe buy these things or these things. And she's like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Just send me like a link. And this is actually the bundle I'm going to recommend. Is what I recommended. I already have all the budget cards, so yeah, I'm going with the bundle. Again, this is a deck builder's toolbox, so let's take a look at our list. Okay, so that's what we're going to do next here. Alright, so here is the website. I've included this link in the description, so you'll be able to find it very easily. This is called Moxfield. It's a website basically for building Magic decks and things like that. So, pretty handy. What's really nice about this website, though, is that you can go down here and you can order everything. So when you go, you just hit buy deck and it gives you all of these different options. So again, Card Kingdom, it is listed at $19.80 on Card Kingdom, so that is a good price. The prices can vary depending on how many vendors you're using and stuff like that, so it can be a lot more expensive or a lot cheaper based on the number of vendors. My understanding is that shipping costs can be a little high, but you can cut that down by using fewer vendors. Next up, we have Card Kingdom. It is $45.46, but the shipping cost is much lower. So yeah. Again, if you're going to look at buying a bundle type of thing, that is usually going to run you about $60. So this is still much cheaper and frankly better. You're getting a bunch of cards you know are really good. A bundle, you're opening and you're kind of like saying, hey, I get what I get, roll the dice kind of thing. You do get a dice or a die in the bundle, but yeah, that's beside the point. Anyway, Card Kingdom is probably your safest bet. TCG Player, you can probably get cheaper, but you gotta, mess with settings a little bit more. There's also Star City Games for $36.60. Okay, I've never actually ordered from any of these, so I don't know. Cool Stuff Inc. is 42.86. I would think the fastest one, I've heard Card Kingdom is very, very fast. So if you just want to get the cards and like have them for, the holiday or for a birthday or whatever, probably just go with that option. But anywho, and here you can go over the whole list. Also, if you give this to someone, give them this as well. Say, hey, look at all the different cards, and this makes it very easy to go through and look at all the different cards. So yeah. Mirror Entity. Oh, I love Mirror. I should start rambling about cards I love, but anyway, they're all cards I love. Who am I kidding? I'll be here all day. Anywho, yeah. So check this link, and you can order very easily. Is the point? Okay. All right, so I just want to go over my suggestion for the plan B. And this is what I actually told my wife to get me for Christmas. So if you think whoever it is might have all these cards already or anything, this is a great secondary option. So buy a bundle. Bundles are very nice because they have a bunch of extra things like lands and a die that you can use to track life. And they also have just a whole bunch of packs in there. So you're never really, even if they already have one bundle, buying another bundle is not going to be the same thing. The packs are all different, right? The cards they get are going to be different every time. So yeah, this is a pretty safe bet. But it's around $50.99 on Amazon. I looked it up and it was $50.99 US. So quite a bit more expensive than my list, but we'll see. This is the Foundations bundle box is what I'm suggesting. Foundations it has a lot of cards for like beginners and things like that, but also a whole bunch of cards that are really, really useful for people that do have or are avid collectors and things like that. They've got all kinds of special art and things like that. The value of some of these are insane. It is random, of course, so you're not guaranteed to get like the really fancy things, but if they happen to pull a couple of really fancy ones, that's like over $100 probably. This what those cards could be worth. So it'll be a nice little boost for your gift. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna look at some of the card. And talk about kind of very generally what makes them useful and why they're good and why I suggested them. This might be a bit in the weeds if you're just looking to order something. So if you're not really interested in the particular cards, maybe this would be the part of the video where you stop watching, because yeah. However, if you're a person who got this is probably where you want to start watching, where it kind of gets into the meat and potatoes of it. So, Mana Rocks and Mana Dorks. Again, mana is the energy used to cast spells. So you need that, and there's 6 different kinds, I should say. Kinda 7, but anyway. You want to stop. Veil Tracker Scout. This is a Mana Dork. It means it's a creature that makes mana. You can tap it, turn it sideways for 1 mana of any color, and whenever you expend 8, that means you spend 8 mana on any spell. You can take something from your graveyard and put it back into your hand. A permanent. It doesn't have to be a permanent, but that's a lot of stuff. You could just like take something out of your graveyard and put it back in your hand almost every turn. Can't complain about that. 500-Year Diary. This is only really good if you have a lot of clues in your deck, but you can tap for a blue for each clue you control. It is also a clue. So yeah, that'll be a lot. Clues are artifact tokens that they're like disposable things that are really, really easy to make, so you can make a whole bunch of them and just have a pile of mana. Skyclave Relic. I'm putting this on like all my decks now. It is 3 for this. 3 is usually considered bad for Mana Rock, but we're gonna get there. It has Kicker 3. That means if you pay 3 extra, you get some kind of special effect. The kicker on this is that it makes 2 copies of itself. They're all indestructible. That means they can't get like blown up or anything. And yeah, for 6 mana, you get 3 Mana Rocks on 1 card. That's insane. Indestructible Mana Rocks. Like, just absolutely insane. Replicating Ring. This This is best if you have proliferate, if you can keep adding tokens. This will actually make copies of itself. It'll make a bunch of copies of itself. So one of them, you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color. And yeah, if it has 8 or more counters on it at the beginning of your upkeep to the start of your turn, remove all of them and create 8 color snow card artifact tokens called Replicating Ring. So basically, if you get 8 of these counters on it, it'll remove the counters and it'll make 8 copies of itself. So yeah, you'll have 9 mana rocks for 3 mana. Yay. Inspiring Statuary. This is technically not a mana rock, but yeah. This lets you cast non-artifact spells you control have improvise. That means you can tap any artifact to like be able to cast them more easily. Non-artifact spells. So anything that's not an artifact, you can cast very, very easily. Only it doesn't pay for the colored mana, only the colorless cost. So yeah. Still, it's going to be very easy to cast. And Selvala, Eager Trailblazer, this is another mana dork. She has vigilance. That means she can attack and she doesn't have to tap, which is turning sideways, which means she couldn't get used again, but she can attack, and then after you use her to attack, you can tap her for mana, which is really good. And anyway, choose a color. Add 1 mana of each, of that color for each different power among creatures you control. So power is that like 4 or 5. She's a 4 or 5. 4 is her power. 5 is her toughness. Basically, she can take 5 damage before she has to go to the graveyard, before she's out of the game. And 4 is the amount of damage she does. So yeah, for all of the different things, if you have like a 1/1, a 2/2, a 3/3, and her, that would be 4 mana. She makes it any color you want, which is pretty incredible. Counter spells. They're useful in just about every deck. Unfortunately, blue is the main one that's good at that. Okay, so we've got Warping Whale. This is nice because it is colorless. It can counter. It's a modal, means you have 3 options. You choose one. One of them is counter a sorcery. Most board wipes and things like that are sorceries, so this is very useful to have. The tricky bit on this is that you do need a colorless mana. It is 1 and colorless, so 1 can be paid with anything, but the colorless has to be colorless. So you need something that makes colorless mana. There's a lot of lands that do it. You've got like Soul Ring that makes 2 colorless mana, all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of ways to do it, but you got to make sure you can do it. Long River's Pull. This is only 2 mana for this instant and counter target creature spell. And then if you gift a card, meaning if you let someone else draw a card, you can counter any spell. So very nice. I like the gift a card mechanic, especially if you're playing it like a multiplayer format, giving it to like the player who's behind. It creates some goodwill and evens out the board a bit. So yeah. Defabricate. The 1 and a blue. You can choose one once again modal, which is always nice. Counter target artifact or enchantment spell. If a spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into the owner's graveyard. So you can exile. Exile is much better than just sending it to the graveyard. Takes it out of the game. Counter target activated or triggered ability. Decks do not have enough counters for abilities. You really should have something like this in any deck that you can. Urtai's Scorn. This costs 1 less to cast if your opponent casts 2 or more spells this turn. So this is very, very good if it's not the first spell. You always want to use this for like the second or third spell they want to cast. And then it's 1 blue, it'll be only 1 blue. And then you could have cost reduction as well. For only a blue, you could counter it, potentially. Annul, counter target artifact or enchantment spell. So that's very limited, right? It sounds, artifact or enchantment sounds very limited. It's only 1 blue mana. No one's expecting you to counter their spell when you only have 1 open. Stern Scolding, counter target creature spell with power or toughness 2 or less. Power or toughness 2 or less. That's actually a whole lot of creatures. So yeah, that'll get used. Once again, only 1 mana. Board wipes. Okay, looking at some of our board wipes here, Stick Together. This is one of my favorites because you get to choose things that it doesn't destroy. Like, it destroys everything on the board, but every player can choose a party. So you can choose make sure I don't get confused, Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, Wizard. You can keep them on the board. So if you're the person who has those things, hey, great. A lot of decks will accidentally have things like Wizards, Warriors, Rogues. I have a lot of decks where I've gone, all of a sudden I've realized, like, oh, the commander says Wizard or something like that, because they can be like Wizard Sphinx or something like that, right? This is going to get used. Just keep your eyes open on your creature types and stuff like that, and you'd be surprised. I ended up sticking this in a deck I didn't even realize I could. I knew it had Wizards, then I look at it and I'm like, oh, it also has Rogues and Warriors. Even if you've got 3, this is worth it, right? Well, Scouring. 4 black, and yeah, you may cast this as though it had flash by tapping 3 untapped creatures you control in addition to paying its other costs. So you can, if you tap 3, this is a board wipe you can cast during someone else's turn. Really good. Destroy all creatures, create 3 1/1 black fairy rogue creature tokens. Especially having a board wipe that makes tokens for you, so you're the only person who has tokens left. Blood Money. Destroy all creatures. For each non-token creature destroyed this way, create a tap treasure token. Always, yeah, basically it's 5 black. It's 7 that costs a lot, but it's going to make you mana. So much mana. Slaughter the Strong. This is one of my favorites. 1 white. And yeah, each player chooses any number of creatures with total power 4 or less and sacrifices the rest. If you've got like a deck that has a lot of walls or something like that, that has things that have 0 attack power, you can really take advantage of this because you can just count everything that has 0 attack power as one of those creatures. So in the right deck, this can be a one-sided board wipe pretty easily. Filter out, return all non-creature, non-land permanents to their owner's hands. This doesn't destroy them and puts it back in their hand, but they have to recast everything. And it's non-creature, non-land. So yeah, if you're playing against someone that's using a lot of like artifacts or enchantments, their game might be over right there. False Flora. This is so underrated. 4 mana for this artifact. Again, 4 colorless. It means any deck can use this. Yeah, it enters the battlefield tapped, and creatures enter the battlefield tapped. So automatic right away, anti-haste, right? If someone's got a bunch of haste, their creature comes in tapped, haste doesn't matter anymore. And for 2 and tap, exile False Flora, exile all untapped creatures, activate only as a sorcery. So yeah, you can just tap this and like you can swing with your entire board, which usually leaves you open, right? Instead, you're going to swing with your entire board, attack with everything, tap all your creatures, and then you're just going to like blow up everything. So if they have anything that's untapped, it's all gone. All of their blockers gone, right? It's a lot of games people are going to leave a lot of their things open so that they can block, and this like punishing people for blocking. I really like it. Win the game. Hey, win cons. Alright, so we've got mechanized production. Basically, if you've got, how many is it? 8 or more artifacts that share the same name, you win the game. Especially, you make clue tokens, make treasure tokens, make whatever. These tokens, this will also make copies of things, but these tokens, you can very easily turn into just like your win. It doesn't have to be, this is an enchantment, it doesn't have to be enchanting that token. You just have to control the tokens. So yeah. Very easy win con there. Simic Ascendancy. So this is a green and a blue. Again, Simic. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on a creature you control, put that many growth counters on Simic Ascendancy. This is a proliferate thing, right? So every time you put a +1/+1 on a creature, it gets a growth counter, and when it has, I believe, 20 or more, yeah, 20 or more growth counters, you win the game. That's it, you win. So yeah, your +1/+1 counters deck, that's your win con now. Yoy. Biovisionary. At the beginning of each end step, if you control 4 or more creatures named Biovisionary, you win the game. So what you can do is called populate. You can make copies of the creature. So you're going to make 4 copies of this, and as soon as you have 4, beginning of the next end step, you win. Yep, all done. Buster Squall. So this is not a you win card. This is a tap target creature you don't control for 1 blue, and you can pay the Overload, which is 3 in a blue. This taps everything except your creatures. That means no blocking. You can just go in and take them out of the game right there. No problem. Cone of Cold. Once again, it just taps everything. The nice thing about this is that if you roll, you get to roll a die, and yeah. And yeah, if you roll 10 to 20, they're actually going to be tapped, and they stay tapped for a full turn. They don't untap during the next untap step. So yeah, that is your win con, right? It gives you 2 turns of just being able to like walk in and hit them whenever you want. Oh boy. Invert the Skies. This is amazing to use against someone that's using a lot of flyers. So it is 3 green or blue, and you use a green and a blue to cast it. So yeah, 2 of anything and a green or blue. You must use green and blue. Sorry, green and blue is what I should say. And when you do that, everything else loses flying and all of your stuff gains flying. So basically, once again, you get to go in and hit them, and they can't stop you. Even if all of their stuff had flying, it takes flying away from them for that turn. Tango lands. So we're getting into the lands here. Lands are very, very important. Being able to cast spells. If you can't cast spells, you can't play the game, right? Okay. So yeah, we got all of these. What's really nice about these is they also have the land type listed. So again, it says like Prairie Island, Island Swamp, Swamp Mountain. And more importantly, these ones, Forest Plains, Mountain Forest. So there are only 5 of them, but the fact that they say they have that listed, the actual land type listed, anything that says forest, you can go get fairly easily. Any card that says go get a forest, you can go get one of these. A lot of times it'll say basic land. You cannot get these with basic, but there's plenty of things that let you just, like Sky Shroud Claim, that'll let you just go get forest and yeah, throw it into the battlefield tapped. So yeah, that you do these and you're all set on mana basically, which is nice. New Capenna fetches. These are so underrated. Okay, so here we go. Obscura Storefront. Again, I'm not going to read all of them, but the point is that they come in and they automatically destroy themselves, and you have to go find a basic land and put it at the battlefield tapped. Basically, these go get whatever land you need. And what's really amazing about these is that they do not have the like little color symbols, the pips listed. So you can put these in any deck. So even if they only have 2 of the colors in your deck, you can still put this in. This sacrifices, you gain a life, and then yeah, you get to go find a land. They each find 3 different colors or 3 different types of land, so it's really good. And if you can keep pulling them out of your graveyard, it's really nice, like little combo. Pull it out of your graveyard, put it on the battlefield, that automatically sacks itself. You gain a life, you go get a land, do it again, do it again, do it again. And this does not count against your limit of like lands you can play on your turn, right? This is just extra. Especially if it's coming out of your graveyard, it's just extra. So yeah, really good. I would have a full set of these all the time if you're building decks just sitting around. My favorite. So this is where I really get to talk about the ones I love the most. It's hard to choose here. Trail Tracker Scout. I talked about him already, but yeah. a mana dork that gives you recursion. That's going to keep throwing things back into your hand. Recursion is better than card draw. Getting things, whatever you want, back to your hand means you're getting some selection there. Lordy. This is a friend of mine actually recommended this card, Ollie, and it's amazing. It's like it does defense. It's like your win con. It can be everything. So again, 3 white for this 3/3 flyer, which sounds not good. But for 2 and a white, choose a color. Creatures you control gain protection from that color until end of turn. Activate only if it's in the graveyard. So get this to the graveyard, discard it, just like throw it into it. If it's on the battlefield, just keep attacking with it, whatever. Get it to the graveyard, and then all of your creatures you can, for 3 mana, give all of your creatures protection from whatever color you want. So if you use that, you can just attack and not have to worry about anything blocking you that's that color. So if they've got like a mono red deck, protection from red, there you go. You just take them out. Also, if they're trying to use some kind of removal or something, targeted removal, if they're using like a lightning bolt, okay, 3 mana protection from red, all my creatures, no, it doesn't work. It just fizzles. So it's almost like a built-in counter spell. Excuse me, oh boy. Evolution Witness. Okay, every time this gets a +1/+1 counter, you get to put, again, you get recursion. You get to take a permanent, so not an instant or sorcery, but anything else from your graveyard back to your hand. And if you've got Proliferate or something, that's going to be really easy to do. So yeah. Parting Gust. This is amazing because, basically it's a removal spell. You can exile for 2 white mana, and if you gift a fish... No, sorry. Make sure I didn't get the switch. Yeah, if you give someone a tapped fish, which is not really much of a gift, you get to just flicker this instead. It becomes a flicker, which means you take something, you pick it up, you put it straight back down. So if you have ETBs, anything, you're going to just get that again. It does have to target a creature, is one thing I should point out. Or a non-token creature. Pit of Offering. I love this card so much. Oh, caves are so good. Pit of Offerings. So when it enters the battlefield, you can exile 3 cards from graveyards. Graveyard Hate. A land that does Graveyard Hate is amazing already. But yeah, whatever colors those cards are, you can tap for those colors. So it's like a mana fixing Graveyard Hate land. That's insane. Witness Protection. This is a card, especially if you're playing Commander. Every deck should have some kind of version of this. So for 1 blue, it's an aura. Enchanted creature loses all abilities and it becomes a citizen creature token with base power 1/1 named Legitimate Business Person. That's funny, first of all. I love legitimate. I'm a legitimate business person. But anyway, use this on someone's commander, take away all of their abilities, and trap them on the battlefield. That's really what this is all about. There's also green, there's Kenrith's Transformation. There's a lot of different effects that are pretty much the same as this that you can find for just about any color, I think. Well, maybe not any color. White, green, and blue, definitely. Analyze the Pollen. So this is for 1 green, you can go get a land, basic land. It's not great, it's not bad, but if you exile, I believe, what is it? If you exile cards from your graveyard with total mana value 8 or more, then it's a tutor for anything. A 1 mana tutor for anything. You do have to exile things, but worst case scenario, you're going and getting a basic land and getting your land drop. Remember, land drops are important. If you're only ramping and not hitting your land drops, you're just paying for land drops. So that's all. No point in ramping if you miss your land drop. Okay, enough. Reluctant Role Model. This is like the craziest card. This is like an upgraded Ozolith on a creature, and it's less than 50 cents. The Ozolith is like $20. Alright, so For a 1 and a white, this is a 2/2. At the beginning of your second main phase, if it is tapped, put a flying, lifelink, or +1/+1 counter on it. Sure. Whenever it or another creature you control dies, if it had counters on it, put those counters on up to one target creature. Or sorry, on target, yeah, up to one target creature. So every time your things die, you can take all your counters and just put them on any creature you want. Again, that's what the Ozolith does, but it doesn't. Yeah, it's really. I think it's better because it does it immediately. The Ozolith, like, you put it on the Ozolith, and then at the beginning of combat, you move it off again. This just automatically does it, right? Also, like, if you put all your counters on something else, and someone uses target removal on that, okay, you just move the counters to another thing. Like, it doesn't even matter, really. It just makes target removal almost useless. It's hilarious. Anyway, take it easy.